Welcome back to the program. So this story is for the public, okay? Anytime I see something that I feel is something really important that I don't want to see seniors get scammed out of their life savings, I don't want to see them be taken advantage of and things like that, I want to bring that to people's attention. And this is one of them. What on earth are Burma scam centers? How much money have they taken from the American people? And more importantly, what can we do about it? How do we stop this? This is an interesting story. The Myanmar military junta continues to run extensive criminal enterprises that finance its wars and atrocities with cyber scam compounds at the center of its revenue stream. These scams and their centers are massive penal colony style compounds where trafficked workers conduct global cyber fraud operations. Primarily, they call it, quote, pig butchering schemes that build trust with victims before stealing their life savings. Between 2020 and 2024, victims worldwide lost $75 billion to Southeast Asian cyber scammers. Hundreds of thousands of trafficked individuals from multiple nationalities were forced to work in these compounds across Cambodia, Burma, which is now known as Myanmar, and Laos. These networks rely on US-based social media accounts, social media websites, and hosting services to lure Americans into cryptocurrency schemes before redirecting those funds into fake platforms and laundering that money overseas. Authorities noted that in some countries, the scam industry is so large that it accounts for nearly half of the country's national GDP, with Americans losing an estimated $10 billion a year in scams. Since the coup in 2021, Burma has become the regional epicenter of cyber scams, with more than 30 scam enclaves along the Thai border and nearly 100 along the Chinese border. These operations are driven largely by Chinese transnational criminal networks that use front companies such as TransAsia and Troth Star to finance, expand, and manage these compounds. Some of these same companies partner with junta-aligned border guard services as major scam hubs such as Hunya and KK Park, both of which have repeatedly targeted American victims. Scam centers operate openly because in Myanmar's military-run country now, and its border guard forces protect and profit from them, allowing the compounds to avoid the airstrikes routinely inflicted on civilians and restricted and resistant areas. Multiple investigations confirm that junta's central role in this transnational criminal ecosystem is front and center. Phone geolocation data from 2024 shows frequent movement between Mayawati scam compounds and government buildings in something I can't pronounce, Naipada, I think, indicating a direct operational relationship between organized crime and the military regime. Junta-aligned armed groups are permitted to impose informal taxation on the scam industry in exchange for land, security, transportation, and logistical support. Several of the most active scam sites are in Karen State, including the Tai Chang compound near Mayawati, which sits on territory controlled by the Democratic Benevolent Army. Another powerful militia, the Democratic Buddhist Army, plays a central role in sustaining the criminal economy. The DKBA provides security for multiple compounds and has been directly involved in abusing trafficked workers forced to run these scams. Victims report being beaten, electric shocked, being hung by their arms, and other violent treatment. Scam revenue funds and their activities, and the groups collaborate with Chinese organized crime in drug trafficking, human trafficking, arms trafficking, wildlife trafficking, and of course, money laundering. The flow of this scam and its revenue strengthens the junta allies and prolongs the war in Burma. The United Nations estimates that at least 120,000 people are trapped inside these scam compounds, facing forced labor, torture, and even beatings and killings for failing to meet their scam quotas. Imagine that. They take people, they traffic people all around the Southeastern Asia areas. They bring them into these places, they lock them down, and they force them, basic forced labor, to make and call and dial and scam people in the United States of America. This is sick. Why aren't we taking this out? Why aren't we bombing Burma right now? I mean, it's just incredible. Then it says at least 120,000 people are trapped inside these compounds, being forced labor, torture, killings, beatings for failing to meet their scamming quotas. Even as resistance organizations unite against the regime, the scam industry continues to thrive because it remains one of the junta's most lucrative and protected sources of income. On October 21st to 23rd of 2025, so just about a month ago, the Myanmar military junta, together with the Border Guard Force and the Democratic Benevolent Army, staged what is claimed was a raid on the KK Park scam hub in Mayawati. The operation was intended to convince the international community that the regime was, quote, cracking down on cybercrime ahead of the upcoming elections, but investigators quickly determined it was a coordinated, deceptive move to deflect scrutiny. The stunt began with the quiet evacuation of Chinese managers from KK Park, following the next morning by the BGF opening of the gates and allowing several thousand workers, including foreign nationals from dozens of different countries, to flee. On October 23rd, the regime forces selectively dynamited buildings, so blew up buildings, to create the appearance of a major operation. So in other words, the junta military that runs Burma, Myanmar now, is not only involved in the scam, but they're protecting the scam, and to the international community, they're blowing up a couple of empty buildings, probably saying that they're trying to do something to stop the scam, which of course they're not. And that's what this is basically saying here. And then it says, on October 23rd, regime forces, the junta then announced that it had seized 30 sets of Starlink satellite equipment and found no evidence of criminal activity. Oh, that's nice. So in other words, the criminals are investing the criminals. Sorry, there's no crime here. Move along, nothing to see, right? Unreal. Satellite imagery, though, immediately contradicted these claims, showing that most of the compounds remained intact, with damage to only about 100 of approximately 250 buildings. Ringleaders and senior staff were not detained, but relocated by the BGF and the DKBA to other scam hubs inside their territory, and the scam operations across Mayawati and their township continued uninterrupted. You know, this is the type of stuff that nobody knows about. You know, you get people on social media and you see something, like, and I've noticed this a lot, especially like on Facebook. You'll have a lot of fake like actors and actresses and like public figures and whoever they might be, and it's a fake account and they have like no followers, so you can tell it's a fake account. But maybe to some seniors they don't, and maybe it's something like, I don't know, whatever. Let's say there's a woman that's, you know, loves you know, an older actor, or a woman, you know, that loves or a man that loves an older actress, you know, whatever. And they're infatuated with them. And so they see that they're now reaching out to them. And, oh my God, my idol, my star that I grew up with watching on television, blah, 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 blah. And then they fall for these scams. And then it's like, you know, Harrison Ford is now your friend, or Oprah Winfrey is now your friend. And you think you're talking to the right person, right? But of course you're not. And I know that you people that watch my show aren't this gullible and stupid, but there's a lot of people that are. And so sadly, they don't know any better. And then this person says, I'm this person, which should be illegal. You can't, impersonate people on social media, but it happens. And then what happens is they send them money, and they send them more money and more money and more money, and they scam these poor seniors out of their life savings. You would hope maybe their children are involved, and they say, hey, wait a minute, you're getting scammed, don't do that. But all I can say to all of you, and for you to tell other people, is that anything with cryptocurrency and a celebrity attached to it is not only a fake account, but more than likely one of these forced labor scammers. Okay? So just be really careful. Don't open up phishing emails. If you see something that looks legitimate and it's coming from, AT&T or T-Mobile or Microsoft or whatever, or Amazon, look it up. Put it in before you click on anything. Go to an open window on Google or Brave or whatever you use and say, I got this, this thing saying that I've been approved for a new computer at Amazon. Is this a scam? Do not click on things. A lot of these people will send you things and they'll say, hey, I need you to click here and verify this before we can send it to you. And the next thing you know, they've got your bank account. They know who you are. They've got your Social Security. And now you're a victim. And we've got to stop this. And so I'm bringing this to your attention because I care, number one, and more importantly, I want to make sure that everybody out there is aware that this is happening. I just wanted to, there's scams happening, but I wanted you to know the ins and outs, the meat and potatoes, how the sausage is being cooked in the back room. I wanted to break it all down. That's why I wanted to cover that. So please just be very, very careful. And most of these major companies will not send something out to you willy-nilly like that. And a lot of them will call, too. You got to be careful with the telephone as well. You'll get a weird phone call, and they say, is this such and such? Never say yes. Never say yes. Because if you say yes, hi, is this Mrs. Smith? Yes. Thank you. Click. Now they have yes on recording. Your yes has been recorded. Then what do? No, they go to the local store, they go to a car dealership, they go to Tiffany's jewelry, whatever they want to do, and they try to buy things, and then they use your yes as authorization. You got to be smart. You got to remember there's a lot of people out there that are scamming. And remember, if a deal just sounds way too good to be true, it's not true. Be careful. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.